Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to an exciting episode of Epicenter, where we feature business leaders and influencers who are help shape today's digital economy. Today, this guest, man, oh man, is the one and only Mr. Ferdinand, better known as Ferdy Gutierrez. What's up, Ferdy?
What's up, Ronan? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm super excited because, obviously you're doing something really cutting edge here in Asia. And I want to, many people don't know who you are, but they should. And those people who know who you are, need to know more about you.
Sure.
What's the story? Who are you, first of all? What's the background?
That is a good question, Ronan.
Yeah,
who the hell am I?
Do you know?
Sure, I can do a quick run. I was born in the Philippines, so I'm Asian by birth. But I moved to New York when I was 5. Mm-hmm. Spent probably 25 years of my life in the States. So I'm an American citizen as well now. But I went back to Asia for a couple of reasons. One, because I felt like there was a lot of opportunity in Asia. And I felt like there was a lot more out there for me to be here. Mm-hmm. So I decided to move back in year 2000. And I was in advertising at that time, so I wanted to work with bigger clients. Mm-hmm. So in New York, I was working with Sports Illustrated, I was working with Guinness Beer and Dunkin' Donuts. But I always wanted to work for a
great combo.
The blue chip, like a super blue chip, like a Coke. And I had that opportunity to do it here in Thailand, to run the Coca-Cola business from a can. So I did that for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And after that, I decided there was another opportunity to look at another big blue chip client, and it was Unilever, right? Mm-hmm. So with Mindshare, I got to pitch Unilever here in Thailand as well. So that was fun. We won that. And then, from there it was interesting because I felt like, and this is what we'll talk about this later probably, is I felt like there's always something new out there. I'm always looking for a challenge. I was always looking for something that really takes me to the cutting edge of whatever, the media is at the point, at that point, right? So for me, the next big thing was digital in 2005. So can you imagine what digital was like in 2005 here in Thailand? Banner ads.
Yeah, what was it? The Sanook website or something?
Sanook and Kapuk were the major websites here in Thailand. And I got to work with a couple of pretty cutting edge guys, the guys from A-commerce, Paul and John and Tom and those guys, and Tiwa.
Yeah.
So that was, and Russ Conrad, all those guys, they were my peeps, right?
Yeah.
Matt Ward, all those guys, right?
Oh.
Some real rock stars in the industry,
Bangkok Tech Mafia, right?
Yeah, that was the mafia. So I got into digital because I was telling them I felt like the next big thing in media is I believe marketplaces should be all online, right? Whether you buy a newspaper, TV, radio. And I guess it was a kind of the beginnings of what I felt would be programmatic at one point, where you don't have to go and talk to, Posterscope and or these outdoor companies to say, hey, which outdoor advertising makes sense to me? Why can't we do it all online? Why can't we have it in one marketplace? That was my thought. Mm-hmm. And they liked that thought, and they thought, maybe this guy could be good as a media director. So I was their first media director because I had experience in traditional media from back in the day,
and no one had digital experience, anyways.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I was a media director here in Thailand, and then we started expanding into Southeast Asia. So I got to expand the business in Philippines and really saw what it was like from the ground up. Mm-hmm. So I went there with my backpack and I talked to, I just tried to train agencies on how to do it. Because what we had back then that nobody else had was technology. Because there's the media side of it, but what about the technology side of it? So those guys had rich media. So when I showed them rich media, everyone's like, holy crap, you could do that. I was like, yeah, you can do that. Because there's video advertising. And remember, static banners versus a really great expanding banners, videos, blah, blah, blah. And then we...
Pop-ups?
No, then you add on top of that the data.
Yes.
Which that blows people away, right? So then from there, we took Philippines into $1 million business in my first year, right? So, and that was, to me, that was my first baby. So I got to thank Paul and those guys for trusting me to do that, right? That was my first little company that I ever built.
Wow.
And then from there, had one more chance, two more chances at advertising because, it was like the Godfather. They kept pulling me back because I didn't want to do it anymore. And everybody kept saying, could you do this, do that for me? So I did it, work with Ogilvy in Singapore. So I headed up Neo at Ogilvy in Singapore. And then my last stint in advertising was with Havas. I was the CEO of Havas here, Thailand.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's just down the road. And then in between then, I built my own company doing social games. So there was a time, if you remember, where Zynga was super hot, right? And I wanted to build games that had insight, right? And the insight was that most of the players playing these kind of games were women. But if you looked at the competitive set for those games, right, there was only like 4 big games for women. And I was like, we can build another one here in Asia. And the idea was the big innovation piece that we had versus the others is that you could get real world rewards for playing our game. So the idea was to build a closet and to build the some people, let's say Farmville, you're building a farm. My game, you build a closet. And you get to shop, and it's a story where you start in Soho and you keep on going, right?
Sounds like a dream.
For girls, because we thought
for guys too.
Yeah, the insight is, what do women like? They like fashion, they like shopping. And they like to nurture things like in Farmville, because half of those games is the psychology is, I want to show people that I've built the most beautiful farm and it works perfectly and stuff like that. So we made it into a closet. But the innovative part of it was, if you were really good at playing and everybody liked your closet, you get some real world items like Louis Vuitton bags, Chanel bags. We were giving that away every month for people, and women went bananas, absolute bananas. So we had 1 million DAUs on this thing and about 5 to 7 million MAUs. It's pretty good. And there was places that we never marketed to: Brazil, the US, Turkey. They were going crazy for it. It was nuts. So I sold that after 3 years. It was one of my most amazing experiences of my life to build it from the ground. This first time I did fundraising, raised $3 million for it. It was really, really fun. And the guys that I had on it was great. John Lohr, the guy, he's now he made Wonderfruit, and now he's the MD, he's here at the video game industry like I am now. So I'm going to let him tell you where he is. But I thought it was amazing. That whole experience was amazing. And that's where I got the bug for video games. And again, it was basically from my career perspective, I was like, what is the hottest thing out there? What can I be a part of? How can I use my past experiences in media and advertising and the psychology of understanding how consumers work and putting it into the next big thing, right? So gaming to me was a natural progression to go from advertising. So, and then I worked for Twitch for about, I think, 2 years. And basically, they took my media experience and really try to build, communities around it and build a content thing around it. And communities is a big part of what Twitch is all about. It's a community of gamers. And that's why I saw the power of community and how we can really channel that energy into building businesses. And then, after that, I'm at Ampverse.
So you go from media to being a founder. You go from basically selling digital ads to creating a gaming product, yeah.
Yeah, I actually built a game.
Targeted towards women.
Yeah.
You spend some time at Twitch.
Yep.
And now you've basically founded your own esports company. Now, are you an athlete? I mean, what is esports?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question.
What is esports?
Okay, so
I was asked the question earlier, esports? What's esports?
Let me try to explain, because gaming is the big, when everybody says this statement that gaming is bigger than movies, music, the NFL, the EPL, all that combined is not right now gaming is, don't quote me, the latest quote is like $250 billion business, right?
Probably underestimate.
Yeah, it's probably underestimated now. It's probably bigger than that.
500 or
yeah, because that was back.
Industry.
Yeah. So there's gaming, right? And gaming has entertainment and all these other things, right? And there's a competitive side to gaming, right? It's just like any other sport, whether it be football or basketball. It's the competitive side. It's a league. You know, they're playing in leagues, but instead of playing soccer or football or basketball, they're playing League of Legends, or they're playing Arena of Valor, or they're playing, Counter-Strike or any big game. So, usually they're 5-on-5 games usually, but there are esports where it's fighting games like Tekken, for example. But it's professional video gaming. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Which could be considered professional sports, right?
Well, actually, it's in the SEA Games and about to be in the Olympics.
So
it's sports.
You could win a gold medal if you're good at a game?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't necessarily have to be 6'6" and be able to dunk and shoot a three-pointer to be able to get an Olympic medal.
Yeah, I mean...
Or run, 9.6 100-meter.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you something.
Yeah.
Like our Arena of Valor team is the world champion, the reigning world champions in Arena of Valor. And they're here in Thailand.
What?
Yeah.
So the reigning world champion...
Yes.
Arena of Valor.
Yes.
AOV.
Yes.
Is here in Thailand.
That's right. Bacon time.
Like the whole world.
The whole world. I think, yeah, whole world.
Okay, we're going to have to get to that because, so let's just go back to how this company, how did this start? What is Ampverse? What does Ampverse even mean?
It was weird because we were coming up with all these different names for Ampverse. I like it. Now it would be something cool like amplifying the metaverse. Right?
Yes,
but it's not. It never happened. I never thought of Ampverse as amplifying the metaverse. So if people might have thought, oh, you knew about Web3 though back in the day.
Dude, you were smart. Well,
I was actually.
You probably would have because you're always on the cutting edge of something, and then once it gets popular, you're on to the next.
Yeah, well, I would. The way I thought about gaming is I thought of it as content, and the word verse is really about content, right?
Yes.
Verse is like like poetry or art or music. It's mostly in the written space, right? Verse. But amplifying the word that gaming is the future. That's how I came up with Ampverse. There was a lot of different ones that we thought of, but I thought that one stuck the best. And I liked the logo, the AV logo that we have at Ampverse. And when that came together, I thought that was right. So basically what we started off was an influencer business because we had access to all the top talents here in Thailand. So it was a natural progression for us to start building as basically an advertising company, right? An agency per se, right?
So you start off by building an advertising agency for esports, for influencers?
For gamers, for influencers.
Just for gaming.
We started with just straight up influencers because at Twitch, we knew all the best streamers, right? Right. And we had access to them. Here we had access to Bay Riffer, we had, Heart Rocker, all those guys, right? So we had an opportunity to be able to, for me as a digital and an advertising guy, to say, hey, why don't you use these guys as a marketing tool for your brands? Because in terms of engagement, nobody's more engaged than the gaming community by far. So that was our first start. And it was founded by me and two other Twitch guys, Matt Bayer and Surasak Winnett. Yeah. And then we added Charlie Bailey, who was coming from Universal Music. So it all came together in a beautiful, Quartet, yes.
Orchestra.
Yeah, it was really nice because Charlie is very commercial. He's great at narratives. He's great at building strategies, right? So when the four of us got together, I thought we have a really solid team. So, obviously we started off as an influencer business. And then we always knew we were going to get into esports because we thought esports was where it's at, right? I mean, going back to your question, are you an athlete? Yeah, I mean, I played sports all my life. And I've always dreamed of owning my hometown basketball team, right? The Knicks.
The Knicks?
Yeah, the New York Knicks, who have been the bane in my heart and soul. And I hope I never die without winning the championship because it's been a long time, since 73. But I've always dreamed of that. And owning esports teams is the closest thing I'm going to ever be to owning the Knicks. So this is a dream come true for me, because I've got it takes advantage of my media background. It takes advantage of my, love of sports and, being in the sports for forever, loving it since I was a kid. And giving myself the venue and avenue to actually do something special with it.
You're kind of like Gary Vaynerchuk, who talks about buying the Jets one day, right?
Yeah. I'm also a Jets fan and suffering.
Well, you don't start a bidding war. You buy the Knicks, he buys the Jets, and it'll be cool. So you put together this team, and you emerge as like, we're going to focus on esports.
Well, we were always going to build multiple revenue streams within gaming. That's really what we're trying to build.
Okay.
So we knew, the basics of Ampverse is we generate audience through our teams and our talent.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we have about 600 million people in our Amp universe, our Ampverse.
600 million.
Million people, yeah. Because we're now in Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, India, right? So we're in Singapore, if you want to count little.
Yeah, it's an important market.
Yeah, so we're in all those markets, and our next move is to go in Indonesia next. Mm-hmm. So imagine, the vision was to be the biggest gaming company in Southeast Asia, and then the bigger vision one day is to be a global player, right? And it didn't necessarily have to be just on the esports side of it. We wanted to be great at esports. We wanted to put Southeast Asia on the map, and of course, South Asia with India. But we also wanted to build a really great company, because at the end of the day, we want to build something that has value, right? And, if you think about sports in general, it's not easy to make a buck. Even the guys at Man U lose a good amount of money.
Yes.
Right? So,
all right.
But Liverpool is making more. I'm just kidding.
Liverpool is sitting at 11th?
Yeah.
Okay. 10th?
Let's not look at that. Let's look at the years before that.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah.
Everyone always wants to look at their history. Let's look at the future.
No, but the idea was for us to build a business, right? I think that's the point that, we don't have the legacy of Liverpool or Man U or the New York Knicks. We don't have
This is new.
Yeah, this is new, and that's what I'm saying.
This is like you've taken basically gaming, and if we look at physical gaming being sports as we know it, into digital.
Yeah.
Digital gaming.
I'll give you an example of a really good, we'll take football as an analogy, right? The guys who are really good, there's the sport and winning, and there's the business. And the guys who know how to build businesses, I'll give you football.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich.
Yep.
They're just amazing at making money.
Yeah.
I think they're public, right? Are they public? I'm not sure. But they know when to sell players. They know when to buy assets. They know the business of football. And I want to know the business of gaming. That's really what I challenge where the industry is now. And it's given where, the industry is, it's not easy to make money now, right? And I say, how do we make gaming profitable?
But you're not building the game.
No, we don't build the game.
You are building the teams that play
Correct.
In the game.
Correct. So yeah, I didn't build Arena of Valor. Yes. I didn't build Free Fire. I didn't build.
Arena. Thank you for creating great content for this world.
Exactly. Yes. We don't build it. We play them.
So you play them.
Yeah.
And this is a concept that maybe still a lot of people don't understand. I mean, there's people who are in this world, and yeah, I'm sure what is the global esports audience? It must be like is it 1 million? 600 million?
About.
Yeah, it must be. It's big, but it's still relatively small compared to.
I think I think the audience is big. I think the relative commercial side of the business is not as big, right? What the difference is, like, let's say the NBA or EPL, they have huge broadcast rights deals.
Yeah,
you know how much it is. It's crazy, right? I mean. The ABCs or ESPNs have to pay the rights to broadcast, right?
Right.
Right now, the broadcast is happening for esports mostly in YouTube or Facebook or any other platform or even a Twitch. There's no money in it. So esports teams have to find, yet. But going back to my point, is we have to find different ways to make money, right? And that's one of the challenges I have as an esports person. And every esports person has the same challenge, right? But that's why we diversified. That's why we have influencers. Influencers do make money. It's a good business model.
They do.
Right? So now we're looking at things like content plays where we're going to be owning and operating, TV shows or programs that could be distributed. We're also looking at building our own maybe mini games at one point. So we're looking at different ways to driving the 600 million Ampverse audience and putting it in places where we can engage them, right? Whether it be content, whether it be tournaments, whether it be TV shows, whatever, and making sure that we start gathering the data, right? And then what we want to do is drive them into our future. Well, we have e-commerce stores, into our e-commerce stores and buying digital and non-digital good, because the whole thing is this audience is already used to buying digital stuff. They're buying skins, they're buying guns, they're buying all that stuff digitally, right? And this is where I believe the market's going to is buying digital as well as physical goods.
Right.
So that's why I think we're in a good space. We've got the audience, we engage them, we get data, and now we can be pretty powerful is if the data that we could own would be, telling the next generation of advertisers what they want to buy, what their behaviors are.
As we know, data is really the raw material for creating value, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're building something very interesting. And you talk about having multiple revenue streams.
Yeah.
I want to zoom out just a little bit and talk about the industry, right?
Sure.
Let's talk about Southeast Asia or Asia as a whole.
Sure.
Like what does the the esports landscape look like? I mean, are there many teams out there? Are there many different games that are people playing? What is the attraction to actually build a team to play in these leagues?
I think it's very similar to when basketball and football, they're super early days in the 1940s and 50s, right? There's this new game or new sport that's come out. And like you said, Asians don't have to be, 7 foot tall and be able to dunk a basketball, right? I believe there's a lot of opportunity because this region leads the world in two places. Well, you can make a case for maybe South America a little bit. But mobile gaming, where mobile gaming is really prevalent here versus, let's say, the US and Europe. Yeah. The US and Europe are mostly either PC or console-ish kind of games. And then here in Asia, it's really about mobile games, which is huge, right? And the way we look at it is we're probably the biggest of the multinational esports owner, if you want to call it that. And what we do is, we own and operate all the top teams. Not all the top teams. We own and operate in every market, each of the teams that we own. And we believe in a hyper-local strategy. So we're not like the Liverpool or Manchester City where they only have one brand. So in Thailand, we have two teams. It's Bacon Time and MITH, and these two teams play different games.
So they don't compete against each other?
They never do.
Okay.
They play different games. So MITH plays mostly PUBG PC, I think Valorant as well, and Bacon Time plays Arena Valor. Vietnam, we play League of Legends, which is not a PC, and we play Free Fire. In Philippines, we play Mobile Legends. In India, when they lift the ban, we were playing BGMI, Battlegrounds in India. We are now going into Counter-Strike in India. So we have a mix of PC and mobile, but our portfolio is I would say more geared towards mobile. Because the big games out in the world, right? League of Legends, Counter-Strike, and Dota 2. Those are the big boys, right? That's when you're talking about huge numbers. But in Southeast Asia, we're playing very games that are centric to the region. And in every single market that we're in, we play the top game.
And what happens when you win one of these tournaments?
Oh, we get a prize money and stuff.
So there's a nice prize money there.
There's good prize. Well, there's fair prize money, and I wish it'd get bigger.
And it does over time, right?
Over time, it will. That's what I believe.
And the audience is growing?
Yeah, I mean, we were in the championship in Thailand, and I would say there was, give or take, 3,000 to 4,000 people in the stands in Baitak. It was pretty awesome.
Live in the arena?
Yeah, it was live, and it was awesome. Like, literally, it was buzzing.
So 4,000 people in the arena, and I'm sure people watching online as well?
Yeah, definitely.
So you got probably upwards, maybe let's say 10,000 people, eyeballs, all on this
concurrent, all
watching, and they're engaged.
Super engaged, man. And the cool thing is, like, if you're watching it on YouTube, for example, you know, fans get to type in and really react to everything, right? You could, if you wanted to see, like, you know, a two-way communication, yes, they're watching it, but they're also engaging in it as well. They're talking, they're talking trash about the other team, or they're rooting for the team, but stuff is happening.
And the people who are sitting in the crowd are also engaging?
As long as you have your mobile, you can.
Well, everyone has their mobile.
Yeah, so they totally can.
It's pretty cool.
It is.
So you win these tournaments, you bring in prize money, but surely there's more to this, right?
Yeah, I mean, the other ways we make money is sponsorships. One of my favorite sponsorships that we ever had, and was KFC, where KFC did, they sponsored our team. We did a lot of content for them, because one thing about us, we also give content as part of the sponsorship. Some people just give logos, the logo on the shirt.
Yeah.
But we also do content, and we give them that value. But KFC saw us as not just, video game influencers. They thought we were mainstream kind of people, and they put us in TV commercials.
Wow.
So we did 2 nationally televised TV commercials here in Thailand.
Wow. And you're doing this in the other markets too?
Starting to, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a Gillette tournament in India. We're working with brands. We're not in TV commercials yet in every other in other markets, but we're working with brands.
You're talking to a 9, 10, 11-year-old kid. They're like, I'm playing games, for fun.
Yeah.
What does it take to become a professional esport gamer?
Honestly, just like any other sport. I mean, growing up playing tennis, basketball, football as a kid in New York, you got to put time in. You got to be good at what you do, right? So now there's a big stigma. Hey, if my kid's playing video games, are they wasting their time? You're only wasting your time if you don't have a goal. If you want to be a professional, just like any other goal, if let's say if my son or my daughter wanted to play professional golf, you got to practice. You got to be out in the range. You got to, get a coach and a teacher and all that. Same thing in esports, right? You got to do that. You got to put in the time. You got to play at, you got to practice every day with your team. If you got to know your characters, you got to know what you do well and really be good at it. And then you have to learn how to integrate with others if it's a team game. So, give you an idea. I mean, our guys train constantly. We're just like any other sport, right? We have sports psychologists, right? We have the gold winning. Did she win in judo? There, in Thailand, we had a gold winning judo. I think it was one of the martial arts. She won the gold in the Olympics. She had a psychologist. We use the same psychologist for bacon time.
Wow.
So our mental game, is super sharp.
Wow.
Right? And that's what it takes. Think about it. You're on your phone, and you got to hit certain buttons at the right time and coordinate all that. That ain't easy, dude.
And speed.
Speed, the twitch, the reaction to things, you got to be quick. So reaction times got to be quick. Your mind has to be quick. You got to know what all your other teammates are doing as well. You're competing as one unit. So just like any other team sport, it's pretty exciting to watch all these guys in unison building a plan in order to win a game. It's pretty cool. But to answer your question, it takes a hell of a lot of time and energy. And you got to be dedicated to it.
Right. And I heard like in some places outside of Asia, for example, in Europe, let's say, I don't know, Finland, or like if you want to become a professional gamer, the country or they support that, right? That's called career development.
Yeah.
What needs to happen here in Asia to create like get rid of that kind of stigmatism of hey, you're a gamer, that's just wasting your time. Go get a real job.
Well, think about it. Like, let's say for the Olympics, right? You know, the government would help, you know, the athletes, or help them with facility or help them with coaching if they want to be, you know, a gold medalist one day, and it's the pride of the country, right? You know, you get support from that perspective, right? I think that could be interesting. I think gaming, to me, needs grassroots. Because the only thing, when it's popular, it's about building that community to watch the game, right? Why is, let's say, Arena of Valor more popular than Mobile Legends here, right? Because they're both similar games. It's because the community adopted this game, and there's, you know, what happens is over time, there's grassroots programs to be able to, like development leagues, for example. It's like the G League in the NBA, right? You need people who, you know, we populate that with talent, and, you know, hopefully, you know, they look at the professional route, right? You know, you get discovered in these leagues, and then you move your way up to be a pro. And I think that's what you need is more support in that way. I think more brands have to see the value of it, because, you know, the publishers have their budgets, you know, to make a game big, but then they can't do it alone. And they need the help of the communities and brands and you know, the market to be able to make it something, right? So at the end of the day, they need to generate audience so that you get value for the brands, right? So I think, to me, it's a lot of education. To answer your question, we need more education to the people who can support these initiatives in gaming. And I think that it's so new. Like, most advertisers don't get, hey, what is this gaming thing, and how do I get involved? Because, you know, most people don't understand gaming. They know esports, but they don't know the difference between esports and gaming.
It's kind of like they didn't understand social media until it became the driver of e-commerce business, or they didn't understand influencers until they saw the power of how much an influencer can influence, but how much an influencer can sell. Yeah,
I can tell you, to be honest with you, Ronan, I think the value of esports, well, let's not just call it esports, let's call it gaming, right? The value is Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Now, as an advertiser, I know it's the hardest, you know, demographic to reach. They don't watch TV. They don't read newspapers. They don't really like advertising,
right?
To be honest with you.
Right.
They're almost allergic to it.
Yeah.
And they don't want anything fake. They're looking for authenticity. They're looking for a connection. And they're looking at, from their own, you know, from their lens, they're going to get what they want, right? That's the difference. I think it's not about broadcast anymore. It's about being inside of environments where, you know, the audiences are, right? And I think the biggest shift is to show people that, hey, if you want to cut through and you want to get, you know, share of mind, you got to be in places like gaming, because it's all about authentic connections with gamers. Because that community, as soon as somebody says, hey, that guy's saying something fake, I don't like it, you're done. But if they continue to give them authentic connections, saying who they are, it's about being who you are. If you're a streamer, right, or let's say somebody in socials, everything that you do has to be authentically you. Because if you choose something different, these guys get it so fast. They're like, oh, trying to sell to me, right? No, that's not cool. I actually love it when somebody says, thank you, Coca-Cola, for sponsoring me. I mean, without you guys, I can't make this video. I'd probably driving a cab or something. And just thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And, you know, please, guys, support them if you can. That kind of stuff. Versus, you know, the traditional, I'm going to throw a bunch of ads at you until you think that Coca-Cola is the greatest drink on earth, right?
Yeah, that's happened before. Probably not anymore now, right?
It's different now.
Yeah, advertising is...
I'll tell you what, look, advertising has to see that to reach this audience, gaming has to be one of your pillars. And then they're going to talk, well, we'll talk about metaverse later, but gaming is definitely one of the things that I believe almost every advertiser should be doing it. And, you know, if you look at think about Louis Vuitton, right? They're doing a lot of stuff in esports. They designed the cup in League of Legends. They're a big piece of esports.
We have Epicenter cups.
Yeah, Epicenter. There you go. You look at BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Gucci, and you're like, dude, why are they even in gaming? Their audience don't buy them now, do they? But what they're doing is pretty smart. They're basically future-proofing the brand. Because if they're not buying Louis, because these guys aren't loyal to anybody, right? So if they're saying, oh, you know what, I'm not, Louis Vuitton, yeah, that's my mom's brand. I'm not going to buy that. Then they've lost their future, right? Think about it. And the key for them is like, if I stay relevant, then my brand stays relevant and I keep going, right? Why do you think, why do you think that's important? Well, at the end of the day, they can buy other brands now much easier. From Louis Vuitton, you can buy Off-White, you want to buy Supreme, you want to buy other brands. The competitive set's a lot bigger than it was way back in the day, right? So I think that's really smart of brands to stay with this audience because you got to keep winning them, right? You have to win them because they're loyal to nobody. Fast
forward to the metaverse.
Oh, you want to get to the metaverse?
We just go there. We just like why play around in
sure. Let's get to it.
World.
Okay.
What is the metaverse for you?
It's funny. I always thought gaming has always been a metaverse. If you really, we're just not wearing the goggles and, you're not in Ready Player One and you're sitting in a 3D environment. But when you're playing GTA or you're playing Roblox or you even Wave, if you remember this game, was it Second Life or Half-Life or whatever you call it? That's a metaverse because you're a character.
Right.
You go there and buy stuff. You do stuff. You got to live and, you got to sustain yourself. You're living in a world, right? And you're living in its own little metaverse, right? That's what I think. I think all this stuff, and don't get me wrong, I do like Sandbox, I do like Decentraland and all that other stuff, but there's no audience in it. But in games, there are. And they're actually buying stuff and doing stuff in games. So to me, a metaverse is GTA. To me, a metaverse is, let's say, Roblox.
Yeah.
That's what I think a metaverse is.
Yeah.
Minecraft, maybe.
Yeah. I think it's just I would say that like we refer to Web 2, 2.5, Web 3, right? Metaverse is kind of somewhere between where Roblox is and where they want to go.
Yeah.
But you can't get to where they want to go without where you need to be right now. And
Correct.
Roblox, Minecraft, these are worlds that have been created, how long ago? Like Minecraft, 10 years already?
Yeah.
And it's still got super heavy gameplay in there, and it's people like kids, adults spend thousands of hours playing in that metaverse.
Absolutely.
So you guys, as a gaming company,
we're in it.
You're in it.
We actually have a server, a GTA server.
Okay.
So what'd be interesting is obviously these are gated and closed communities. One of the interesting plays you can make, and if you can question morality here and there, etc. But cigarette brands can get in there. Alcohol brands can get in there in controlled environments, right? And there's no real hassles to it, right? And, markets like Philippines, India, for example, we can do it, right? So there's interesting plays there. So we're about to do a server in Philippines. We're looking at a server in India as well. And I'll give you, why I think it's super important or super interesting, this whole metaverse thing, right? Going back to my advertising days, right?
Yes.
We talk about data, right? You're talking about, AC Nielsen or all those guys, they'll collect all this great data, right? But it's still asking a question and you got to fill it out. And, to me, to get to the heart of a person, look at their behavior online. Look at their behavior in games. Because to me, that's the truth. So, for example, if I wanted to be a girl in the metaverse, I could be a girl in the metaverse. If I wanted to, dress like, Drake in the metaverse versus the way I dress today, I can do that. In your real self and the data that you get from that is the truth. That's what I think. Your inner self, what brands want to, sell to you, and you say, hey, what is this demographic thing? Coca-Cola only sells to 15 to 35. That's actually not true. What about the people who are young at heart, et cetera, right? And if you want to look at how to advertise in the future, I think metaverse, man, you get the truest data you can get. And it's uninhibited, right? They get to be who they are. Whatever they want to do, you know it.
Yeah. That's really profound. And I think that's that soundbite there about being who you want to be is just look at how they are in that gaming world that's pretty insightful.
I think that's why it's so exciting, to be honest with you, Ronan. I mean, you want to know the real story out there.
Yeah.
That's where you're getting it.
Yeah. Because your actions are what represent you, not your beliefs.
Correct.
Right.
And not what you're asked of, right?
Right.
Somebody gives you a survey, you go, all right, I'll say this because you're thinking maybe, in the back of your mind, you're like, what should I say?
Yeah.
Instead of just do it. Because why you have to think? Do you know what I mean?
Just do it.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Heard of that brand before.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, I've heard of it somewhere.
Ampverse, just do it?
Yeah. No. You know what our tagline is? Do you know what our tagline is?
What is the tagline?
We're playing a different game.
We're playing a different game.
Right. Everybody's playing, the traditional esports game or traditional gaming game. And we look at it from different angles, like this metaverse thing. I don't know many other gaming companies who think about it this way.
Last point I want to touch on is where do you go from here, right? You've talked about the metaverse. You've talked about gaming and how it's the real way to discover your true audience, right? As a brand, is through gaming. Where do you take your company from here? Interesting.
I think there's a couple different cool directions, but let's take it from a bigger perspective. We want to move from being a B2B company to a D2C company. That's what this is all about. Because if we can get all the data, like we talked about, and understand the consumer behaviors, again, looking at metaverse data or looking at traditional data, but merge them and figure out what people like Gen Z, Gen Alpha really want, I think that's valuable to brands. I really do. And I also think it's valuable to us too.
Sure.
Because why can't we build those brands? Why can't we have our own products that we can sell? Whether it be, products with our influencers, like a My Mate Nate doing an energy drink or something, or Eric Eruption doing his own brand of sportswear. Why can't we build those businesses together? I'll give you an example. Look at Mr. Beast with Mr. Beast's burger company.
Yeah.
It is huge. Huge. I can't tell you how big it is. I think it's $1 billion business almost.
And it was just I think that it popped up during COVID, right?
Yeah. I mean, he did. I think he did a cloud kitchen model, and was able to sell a bunch of burgers, right?
Yeah.
But can you imagine? I want to build new businesses, new companies, off the back of gaming and their talents.
And today, that is more possible than any other time in history, right? You just look at OpenAI and the growth curve. You can't draw a line more straight up than that, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the new bar, right? Yep. That's super interesting.
So we want to, just to kind of answer that, it's about getting to a point where we have valuable data that we can use to understand what kind of products to give, whether it be digital, non-digital. That's really what we want to do.
Brands, you know who to contact when you want to reach the real consumer out there, right?
Sure.
So I'd love to end these things with some rapid fire rounds.
Okay.
And let's ask some interesting questions.
Okay.
You down?
Down.
Jollibee or KFC?
Ooh. KFC.
KFC, wow. Is that because they're your sponsor?
No. I love KFC. I love me some chicken.
What is the best thing about the kind of America that you grew up in?
I loved being able to be more with my friends, physically doing sports, like outdoors. That's what I grew up to. When I grew up, We were in backyards. We were pretending. It was more like, I guess because I'm older, that we, there was something magical about growing up in the 80s.
Not that much older than me.
But I'm old enough, man. But, there was something magical about the imagination of those times. Video games was just coming out. My first ever, console was an Atari 2600.
What was your favorite game?
Oh, easy. Space Invaders.
Yeah.
Because Space Invaders was what gave me, it literally started to eat into my sports time. Because I would love to play tennis, love to play American football, love to play all those sports. But when I played, when my parents gave me the 2600, holy crap, I think I didn't leave my room for 3 days.
Wow.
And my thumbs were like... But I don't know, there was something magic about it, and I loved it. Remember, how the evolution of one player to LAN gaming, to no LAN, to where we are, metaverse.
Yeah.
That's the evolution, right?
Yeah. Did you ever have a Game & Watch?
Yes.
Yeah, those were pretty cool.
I'm Asian, man. It was pretty popular.
Yeah. So who is the most inspirational person to you in your life so far?
Oh, so many people that I'm pretty inspired by. I would say my dad. Obviously he was a guy who I look up to all the time, and hopefully I'm half the parent he is and half the person he is. So, when it comes to that, I would say him, my dad.
You hear that, Mr. Gutierrez?
Yeah,
that's your son. Be proud of him. 3 principles that you
I live by.
Yeah.
Actually, I only have one.
What's that? Game hard?
No, be kind.
Be kind.
I've always been a person who believes in kindness in general. I think that's what makes the world better, and I want to make the world better. I think, if you're kind to people, good things happen in the world. When it comes to business and all that other stuff, obviously there's always tough times, there's always tough things, but do it with heart, do it with compassion, do it as a human being, and the decisions you make it'll be there. And if you understand that principle, easy to guide your life.
Love that. My last question, really important one. How many pairs of shoes do you have?
Over 100.
Oh my God.
About 30 plus are Jordans.
Favorite Jordans?
Jordan 4 Unions.
Nice. And for me, dun, 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 Jordan 3s. Yeah. Let's go, baby.
The reimagines.
Here we are.
They look good.
Hey, thank you. Ferdy, it's been awesome today. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, audience, for showing up. Remember to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, this episode with the video on YouTube.
Awesome.
Cool.